everyone to toogeekytocare. Welcome, guys. And before we start, we have a couple announcements. All right.
Do we?
So yes, we do. Yes, we do, Brandon. Okay.
Okay.
Especially since you're the one who brought it up. So we usually do a podcast every week, but
Sometimes.
starting this week, we are going to change our format. We're going to do it every other week. That way, there will be more investment into uh, a current topic, and as well as we don't run out of topics. But that's impossible because I'm a genius and I come up with a whole bunch of stuff. But um, but we're changing that up. We're gonna do a podcast every other week, and we're also gonna implement gaming time on the stream on this podcast channel.
Yay!
And so that way we can communicate with everyone who's on the podcast, who's followed the podcast as well. So those are the news. Besides that, I am Bajozutsu. You guys can call me AJ. Welcome to Toogeeky to Care. Everyone else, you guys know the drill.
Hello everyone, and this is Tark201.
Galaxy 1129.
And I am Bushido X Wolf.
And now, the topic: console versus PC. This is one of the. Wait, what happened?
No, I was gonna say I think calling it versus. I don't know if I like calling it versus because I'm only thinking of it as a competition since now they're like slowly merging markets.
Mm-hmm.
They are, but I think
True,
that here's the thing.
it's
The thing is,
also a concept of overall view. Everyone
Mhm.
sees it that way,
Mm.
where it's like a fight between the two.
first of all, I would have done Xbox versus PlayStation, but they're
It's a boring argument to me too.
it is a very boring
Yeah,
argument.
it
Right?
can only go so many
This
ways.
one's better because it has that game. That one's better because it has that game.
Yeah, no, but in all
And the
honesty,
fight.
like I enjoy both consoles. I enjoy the PlayStation and the Xbox. They are both unique consoles, and that's a good thing. At least it's not the same stuff we're getting every time we get a new console. The same with the Switch. I'm expecting the Switch to be a very, 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 very great console that can compete with the Xbox One and the PS4 as well. Considering that the Wii U definitely lagged behind, but here's the argument. Here's why a lot of people argue console versus PC. Now, as you guys know, Microsoft and Xbox, Xbox is made by Microsoft, and so they implement the whole Windows 10 stuff, but that doesn't mean that all the Windows games can go onto the PC. I mean, onto the Xbox. Like, all the PC games can go onto the Xbox. For example, you can't play League of Legends on Xbox. You
So
can't play Dead by Daylight on the Xbox.
So the way they're
No.
making it work is there's no longer going to be for anything that Microsoft makes that's going to be on the Microsoft Store. It is going to be using their new platform that's called the Windows. This is a Windows platform.
Yep.
And it's specifically designed for working with basically their operating system, which is the Windows operating system and the Xbox version of the operating system. And as a lot of people know, the Xbox runs a shell of Windows inside of it. So it's literally a Windows machine. So the
Yes.
Xbox is just a Windows PC that's really heavily skinned and tweaked and designed specifically for running games.
The other thing that I like that is that and it's not just Xbox with the Windows users. It also happens with PlayStation 4 and some of its games with PC as well. And the example being Street Fighter 5. Uh, Players that play Street Fighter 5 on the PC can actually match up with players that play on the PS4. The same with King of Fighters. What is it? 14. That's the most recent one, right?
I think. I don't know.
14 or 13.
It's 14, of course. Come on.
I don't.
Come
No,
on,
yeah,
Age.
13. You're right. You're right. Because 13 was the cool one. I like that one. But 14, you can do the same thing, and I think the same goes with Guilty Gear. You know, they implementing a lot of those fighting games to be cross-platform, but they like I think they also have some of those other games as well. But console versus PC, why is that always the thing? Why do console people always say PC master race? Why is that the situation? Why?
Well, it's also the
Eh,
PC people saying PC Master Race.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of PC users or PC gamers tend to have this mentality of being superior to like
They're very
the
proud
console
of
people.
they're very proud of
They're
their thing.
they're
you-
proud of their capabilities being better
I
somehow.
will say this. Like, if you're on a budget, yeah, there's plenty of arguments for this. The first is the budgeting. If you're on a budget, it's much more better for you to go with a console because, of course, the console is much cheaper. You know, you buy a console. Let's say if you go buy a regular Xbox One with one controller, you know, you don't need anything else. With Xbox Live, I think the most you'll spend is like 300, 350, close to $400. You know, with $400 to try and build a PC, you're gonna be lucky it even runs.
Actually, I was just watching someone do a video with like very recently. That's become like less and less of a gray area. I just watched someone do a video where out of a little over $400, they had something that would perform equivalent to the consoles,
Okay.
if not a little bit better in some areas. And but it's at $400. You know, equivalent or like relatively close or a little bit better than the consoles. It's gonna be in like the $400 area, and shoot, what was I gonna say? Oh, and it's running on an SSD, so it's a decent chunk faster as far as load times go with most games. But at the same time, this is not something that's pre-built too. This is something you're building by hand
So with $400, you could build something equivalent or better to a
yourself,
console.
not
No, of
including the
course.
operating system.
But see, then how would it run?
It's $500 at that point, and in which case, yeah, in which case at $500 you have the operating system included, and then you can play as much free-to-play games and stuff like that as you want.
Yeah. Now, but I'd rather take the Xbox than that.
But that's still not including
Or
the keyboard and
PlayStation.
mouse. This is not including the keyboard, the mouse, or a controller.
Or
Yeah,
Unless it comes
exactly.
bundled with your stuff, that's not including any of that stuff.
So
Exactly.
yeah, of course. That's again, if it comes to budget, of course, console's gonna win because everything's already built up. You don't have to worry about anything. You just need to have internet, you know, and buy
All
some
you really,
games.
yeah, all you need is the controller and the game, really.
No, but
Mm.
if you buy a console, it comes with it comes with the controller, so that's not even an issue.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, so
And
like,
with a lot of these consoles, their life span or life expectancy is about 6 years before a refresh, and even then, they usually have like an extra year, sometimes even 2 years, before you have to worry about actually replacing it because it's officially discontinued as far as like games go and all that kind of stuff.
because the thing is, every 8 years there's a new console coming out to begin with. There's a new generation of, you know.
Well,
of
yeah,
the console.
it's every 5 to 6 years is a refresh. That's what they
Okay.
do. Unless you're
So-
Nintendo, in which case you come out with one every 4 years and watch it flop around.
I don't think it's gonna happen with the Switch though.
I pre-ordered mine. I'm waiting for
Okay.
that because it's they did
I don't
that
know.
right.
It's extremely overhyped right now. I'm just waiting to see.
I'm not gonna buy it until I get the funds.
Yeah.
And
There's a
until
lot of
that-
aspects to it that are very overhyped. Like everyone's super excited for what it can
Yeah.
do, but
Sure.
unlike every other Nintendo console before it, but very much like the handhelds, it comes with nothing. You're just getting a device. You need to still buy the games and the peripherals and all that kind of stuff. It's basically more mobile than it is a console.
That makes sense.
Well, to me, like again, the PC, if you wanna like a monstrous PC, and we have Brandon here who's the techie. This is why I love this conversation because Brandon knows the build. I'm pretty sure Tark does as well. How to a little bit. Okay, so okay, Brandon. So
Yep.
if you want to build a monstrous PC, something that can run at like 1440, 60 frames per second, you know.
Try 4K 60 frames per second now.
Oh
Oh,
man.
it's 4K 60 frames per
Yeah.
second? Okay.
That's the new
That's
level
the
to hit.
highest now.
That's the newest highest level?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
4K.
okay, with the graphics card, motherboard, the whole shebang, you already know. How much would that cost?
Honestly, it depends on what you're planning to do with it, but
Just
if you're just gaming, if you're not doing streaming, you're doing like a minimal amount of pretty much anything. It's just games.
Yeah.
I would say it also depends on how many games you have too. So let's say you're looking for a
Alright,
terabyte of storage, right? Just for all your
So-
games, the operating system, everything. 1 terabyte. We'll stick it on, let's say, like an SSD. We'll put in the best graphics card and processor and everything. You're looking at several $1,000s.
Several thousands.
And that's not even talking about like using AIO liquid cooling. So like these are liquid coolers that would be easier for someone who is at lower skills and stuff like that to assemble. All you have to do is install it and it's on there, but it's liquid cooling, so it's super efficient. So you could haul butt at 4K. Or if you want to go to 1440p,
Yeah,
you
what
can,
about
or
1440p?
2K, sorry. If you're doing 2K, it'd be 2K at 120. If you really want to get ridiculous, there are people who do 2K at 240, I think. But there's not really a point to it. Well, there's people who try to push 240 frames a second at 2K. But yeah. Right now the peak is like, if you want the high FPS, it's 2K at 120 because that's what monitors support, and there's 4K at 60 because that's what monitors support. That's what it comes down to. It's not even a matter of, oh, I can push out this many frames. It doesn't matter if your monitor doesn't support it.
Okay, so like with me, one of my goals this year is to build a PC.
Nice.
Now I've already tried to build, like I've pre-built it. I've already like searched what I want to buy, all the pieces, etc., etc. And the build itself comes out to $1,200.
Wait, what is it? 1 month? Wait, 2 months. Wait 2 months and your PC build will cut down like $300.
Yeah, because every year it comes like it's always
Not
dropping
even
in
not
price.
even that. With AMD's new chips that are coming out, everyone's freaking out, and they just announced the prices, and the prices are insanely competitive. You're talking about like the $1,000 i7s, but at the $300 price line. So
Crazy.
yeah, so wait, and then Intel is already planning a response, so literally just wait, and that build, you could get something even better, but for less money. Because at this point,
Nice.
Intel has to respond, or else they're just going to start losing the market.
So that's how it is, guys. Now,
This is
Like we
literally
just-
my subject, I'm sorry.
It sounds like
No,
the
no,
PC
no,
world
no.
is way more competitive when it comes to pricing and such.
Oh yeah, because
That's-
everybody tries to
'cause-
grind out everything. Everything
Yeah,
needs
everyone's
to
trying to
be
win
It's really
something
more
else.
better.
expensive, but then again,
It's
for the expense, you're getting your money's worth usually.
so
you know?
unlike the console market where it's just like, well, this game plays at 960p, and on this console it plays at 1080p. The PC market is literally down to the point of, well, I get 2 more frames per second on that one, running at max settings with everything, and it runs 10 degrees cooler. This guy
Yeah.
wins, and I'm gonna pay the extra $400 to get this guy over that guy. Like that's just
Nice.
that's what it comes down to, and it's really ridiculous, but that's how it is.
Sounds
No,
like
but see, that's interesting because there's plenty of people that don't understand that. They're
yeah.
like, okay, well, I
Like I
like the
just want a
PC.
computer.
I like the PC because you get to play with mods, which we'll get down to a little bit
Yeah.
later. There of course that's one of the things we want to talk about as well, the freedom of PC over the console.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
that's one of the things that like right now, what Brandon's talking about. There's so many different pieces. Like when I think of building your PC, it's like building something to tend to your personality. Am I correct, Brandon?
Hmm.
Right?
Yep.
It's of course you want nice quality stuff. You want something that runs nice, something that looks cool. But like what I've seen from everyone, when you build your PC, when you buy your case, right? You're like, ooh, what case do I want? What am I gonna pay to look at this little thing right here? Or oh, what motherboard do I want to buy? What operating system do I want to get? You know, and like Brandon says, like if you want to start doing other things as well, you know, how much more you're gonna fork out to do these other operations. Like okay, so me,
See,
I've dabbled on PC. I haven't built one yet, but I know plenty because I myself would used to like rip apart PCs and fix them as well.
Mm.
But one of the things that I like learning about is the operating systems and what functionalities, what else can you do with those operating systems. Now, Brandon, what's the best operating system right now on the computer?
for gaming,
No, in general.
there's really, it depends on what your functionality is. Everything is kind of just designed to do its thing in its own
Yeah.
way. So, for example, I literally have this argument, or not argument, discussion at my college, which is where I work as well. And it's literally comes down to what you're trying to do and what you need. So, since the topic is gaming, I'm going to say that as far as gaming goes, Mac is definitely in last place because everybody just looks at Mac and says, "Okay, you're going to do Adobe stuff on there. That's it. That's your entire life is just Adobe. Good luck with that." Or Final Cut Pro. That's good luck with that. You've nothing to do with video games. We're gonna support a handful of games, but only because Mac also supports Unix, so we just,
Mm.
happen to throw all that in there. Whatever. But for the most part, it's gonna be Windows, and it's only because of what Windows driver system, like their support for the hardware. So, as far as gaming goes, I would say it's gonna be Windows, just because of their support for devices. Because it's the most widely used, everybody's in the biggest rush to make sure something works on Windows. There's the most tools available for building stuff on Windows and so on and so forth. Like, for example, you can't get Bethesda games on Linux machines.
That's true. I've heard that.
Oh jeez.
So whoever has Linux and like, oh, I want Fallout. Nope.
Rip.
Time to get a console. All right,
Time
and
to
then
switch.
so all right, so what Brandon explained is completely true because I had a Mac and the only reason I had the Mac was because I was trying to do graphic designing on it. Go to
Nice.
school for graphic design, and then
I
Nice.
wanted to get one specifically for audio and video editing. That was about it. And they
that's
have the best
no, it's
software
true.
hands down.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes,
Totally. I was thinking about
agreed.
getting a Mac for like filmmaking stuff. Yeah, for sure.
It's
It's,
hundred
dude,
percent
it's
true.
so much more worth it.
It's 100% true, and
Though
I ended
you'll
up.
watch it like slowly ignite from the heat from how much work it does though. It hauls butt.
Oh, it has, but yes, it does. But like one of the things that I do like though is that what Brandon said. Each operating system has its own function, has its own specialty. It seems like the PC, it runs like PC is the best one for gaming, obviously. You
Mm.
know, and everything else, Mac. When I was playing a couple of games, I was like, this sucks. I think the only games I could play without like having an issue streaming was like single player games, which is like Danganronpa or like what was the other one that I streamed? I think I streamed Hotline Miami, and that was pretty fun. But besides that, everything else was just trash. And so I would love to see, you know, I like Mac build up on the PC gaming because it's obvious that's one of the biggest money makers out there right now. You know, there's a lot of people cashing in money to play on computers, and that's one thing Mac is definitely not even interested in, which is kind of a shame.
Mm.
So, um, as opposed to the operating systems, like there's just a lot of other things as well that you have to see about the PC as well. You know, um, what's one of the most unique features on a PC brand and that console doesn't have?
Um, I would say, let me think. Something that PCs have that consoles don't. Um, for one, right now, it's like the ability to have, how to say, a choice in what company you support and what content you have on your device. So, like with the consoles, you're stuck with whatever Microsoft allows them to publish. Same goes with PlayStation,
Sony, yes.
and same goes with Nintendo. You play Nintendo games. Um, Now the Switch is gonna have other people, which is cool, but Windows, there is nothing stopping you from going to that company's website and buying the exe file off of their site, running it on your computer, and playing it. You can go to Steam, you can go to Origin, you can go to GOG,
Yeah.
you can get your games DRM free from Humble Bundle,
Yep.
etc.,
Extremely a lot
etc.,
of options.
etc. Yeah.
Gaming, especially.
The one thing I also like is that there's I again the freedom of PC. There's so much freedom on PC that you do not have on Xbox or PlayStation, which I think that's where we're gonna go now, right? Because if we continue, Brandon can keep on going about specs and like which mouse is
I mean,
Yeah. So,
I could do
so
all that, but
mainly,
at the same time, I can also sit here and tell you about the hardware that's in the
of
consoles.
course,
Mm.
yes.
yeah.
Hardware wise, the consoles are actually, if you could take the consoles, and this is the other part that sucks, you don't have a choice in the operating system. If you could take a console, like right now, like one of the Xboxes, which are like $300, wipe it, and then if you were allowed to like literally just solder on a PCI Express um, slot onto that thing, it would be a way better gaming computer than you could build for $300.
But the
And
thing
then
is,
it's
you
like
can't
it's
do that though.
yeah, I know. That's like
Yeah.
it's literally missing like a powerful
There's
graphics card to compensate for what it can do right now. But it's as far
It's a
as like
no.
what you could
It's
do at
built.
$300, yeah, for what you could do at $300, it's great. It's got like 8 gigs of RAM in it too.
Hmm.
8
No, it's
gigs of
built
RAM on
well.
a PC is $80, so that's a third of your PC.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
it's like $50 depending on where you go and how junky it is you get. But yeah, yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
it's built well. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
All consoles they're built well, and that's why they can play these games at a pretty good rate. But again, because it's not a PC, it's depleted of its functionalities, and that's where we're gonna go right now. The freedom of
Yeah.
PC, because what you just touched upon, if you can plug in an amazing graphics card in these consoles, like you would have a much better gaming computer. But guess what? It's not a computer, it's a console, and therefore you cannot remove parts, plug in parts.
Upgradability is the hugest downfall of consoles.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
Pretty much.
And that's what I was gonna mention, because the freedom of doing whatever you want to your PC is why a lot of people say PC Master Race. Now,
Yeah.
I love that functionality that you can go ahead and just, I'm tired of my graphics card. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna buy a new one. And then you buy a new one, right? Hey,
Hmm.
but you gotta make sure that you buy one that's compatible with everything that you have currently, right? Because if you buy something that isn't compatible, like it's not gonna work.
Yeah, so
Obviously.
I feel like to some extent when it comes to PC versus console, I'd say that when it comes to PC, you have to at least be a little bit knowledgeable about the things that you're
Yeah.
putting into your PC, or else you'll have to hire someone for that or have a friend that knows things about that.
Rabid does bring up a point. There is one console, it was like the first console to,
AJ,
well,
if you're
one
speaking,
of the first consoles to ever get a hardware upgrade, and it was the N64. It was
That's true.
a cartridge that would go in the center of it,
Yep.
specifically for that.
Okay,
Now-
I remember that. Yes, the expansion pack.
Yeah, so I got that when I was a kid. It was awesome. So there was that. Then even before that, there was one of the, I think it was the older Sega consoles had an upgrade where you could literally like dock something onto it to accept cartridges as well as discs.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, the 32X,
And
and you
it-
also had the
Yeah.
Sega CD.
and it made it look like a little toilet. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
It looked
A
like
little
a little
toilet.
toilet. I'm not you.
That's great.
I think Angry Video Game Nerd. Angry Video Game Nerd does a video on it. It is.
Yeah, it
was
was the
brilliant.
Sega CD.
Yeah.
The
All
Sega.
those
Yes,
attachments.
the
There are
Sega
some
CD
that
and
do
the 32X.
upgrades, but they're not great. Actually, you know what? I take it back. The people who did upgrades the best was Nintendo. Nintendo's the only one who consistently came out with upgrades for almost all of their consoles. The GameCube had upgrades to it, if you didn't know. If you turn the GameCube upside down, there's expansion slots underneath it. And there's one expansion slot that very few people knew about, that very few people got, which you can mount onto the bottom of the GameCube and play Game Boy Advance games.
Oh yeah,
In the
I
GameCube.
had that. I had that. I was.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember having that.
I never used the feature, so I knew it existed. I just didn't
I
use
think
it.
I used it twice, and that was because of Pokemon.
I used it for Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories.
Oh, see, look at that. But yes,
Yeah,
again,
so
that's.
very few
But I
consoles
think,
have
yeah, very few consoles had that. I think the Dreamcast also had it. But
Yeah, the
that's 'cause-
Dreamcast had it. PlayStation's kind of doing that, but it's not really an upgrade.
You have to
it's
detach
the-
the freaking thing and put a new.
You have the
hard drive.
detached. You have the detached baby. I don't want to say fetus, but baby fetus PS4 that connects to your VR set, which
Yes.
technically you could instead use as a dual screen. So in other words, you could have like one TV and then another like a different TV, so that if, let's say, you have multiple monitors, everybody wants their own monitor, but everybody still wants to see the same content. Or if you're trying to output it to a game capture card to record it or something like that, you could do that. You could split it off. It's really cool, but at the same time, it looks really weird. It's this little thing.
Yeah, I bet.
So
Visually,
the
it's probably not
upgrades,
gonna feel
the console upgrades are just kind of getting lazier, and they're mostly doing software. So they try to put in decent hardware into them now, and it's, for the most part, it's just pretty much AMD hardware and then a good couple of RAM, and then that's about it.
Yeah.
So, but like we were talking about, there's like very minimal consoles where you can literally open up yourself and start plugging in different types of things, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like one, I remember you could do that for the PlayStation, where you can regional unlock, where you opened it up and do a regional unlock.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you know how dangerous that was? It's the same thing with the Dreamcast. You know how dangerous that was? If you messed up once, your whole console was dead. And I think my cousin did it correctly with the Dreamcast, because she region unlocked the whole thing, and we used to play the Japanese version of Street Fighter Alpha 3.
Nice.
Which is the best Street Fighter Alpha game ever. But besides that, like, one of my cousins tried regional unlocking his PlayStation, and that one failed because they had these Japanese Dragon Ball Z games that we wanted to play, and to no functionality, you couldn't do it. But again, that's where the freedom of PC comes, because you don't have to worry about regional unlocks. You don't have to worry about.
Now that's going to be the beauty of Nintendo.
Oh.
Nintendo
Actually,
is not doing region locked content anymore for the Switch.
Nice.
That's good.
It's
You
pretty
still
great.
get that. You
Real
still get that
nice.
now. You still get that now
Hopefully.
with PlayStation and Xbox. There's plenty of PlayStation. No, there's plenty of Xbox games that I would love to see in the United States, but they are not showing up
How long
because
did it
they're
take Onigiri to get over here?
like a year, a full year. I was playing the Japanese version of Onigiri. I literally had to change my region to download the game.
Oh wow.
But here's the worst part. You can't. There's plenty of games like Claned. I don't know if you guys know what Claned
Yeah.
is. It's an anime, but they came out with the Claned game in Japan. Can't
Yeah.
play it in the United States.
It's on Steam. I don't
Hmm.
know if it's on anything else, but I know that it's on Steam. It's a pretty good amount of money though to buy it. So yeah, and they also took a very long time just to translate it because it wasn't really allowed for a while.
Right.
So yeah,
They also weren't very confident. Like they didn't put a ton of effort into it because they weren't confident in the fan base over here.
Plan
'Cause
is really
it's yeah, a lot of the times they're not sure because they're like, hey, we have a lot of fans in the U.S. But would they actually pay money for the game? Because most of them didn't even pay to watch the anime, and it's like
Hmm.
$5 a month to watch the anime. So if you're not even willing to do that, why would anyone drop like $20 to play a game?
That's true, but
I think they
it
did.
has its
I think
following
it
though.
was a good idea though to do
Yeah.
it because it's such a like a visually beautiful thing. To, first of all, to watch, and I've seen the clips of the game as well, and it just looks so amazing
Hmm.
that I feel like a lot of people in in America and everywhere else will definitely enjoy it. They would just be like, even if they don't like any other aspects of it, they will definitely enjoy the visuals of it itself.
Right. Right.
I can
Okay,
definitely see it being popular for that reason.
okay, so I feel like we're totally praising the PC too much. So here's where here's
Not technically, I am happy though. Like what you guys were
um
talking about with the Switch, how and it's new. It's a new thing for the Nintendo to do these things. To be
so
have
here's what I'm gonna plug in.
Hmm.
I haven't built my own PC yet. I've never had to build my own PC. I've had a Mac, but again, that was for purposes of schooling. I've always been a console person from the good old days of when I was born.
Hmm.
My uncle, he was like, "Oh, look, he's like about to turn one. Here's your Super Nintendo." So since I was basically like growing up, I had a Super Nintendo already. Okay,
Nice.
so for me, like I grew up console to begin with.
I
You know,
think. Oh no! After you, AJ.
I mean, go ahead. No, I can. All right, so I just grew up on consoles. So like I ended up having the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, then the game the Sega Genesis,
Hmm.
then the N64. I never had the PS1, but I used to go to my cousin's house every friggin' day, so I basically had a PS1.
Right.
Then
Yeah.
then my other cousin had the Sega Saturn, and I used to love playing Virtual Fighter 2 on it. Every time I go to his house, we were always jamming out on Virtual Fighter 2. Um, I got my own N64, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Then the Dreamcast came out. I never had the Dreamcast, but I went to my cousin's house and she had the region unlocked Dreamcast, and it was always that, Street Fighter Alpha 3 and Marvel vs. Capcom 1. I think she had Marvel vs. Capcom 2 as well. And but I've always stuck to console, and the reason why is the familiarity of console. Like, I love mouse and keyboard, but I just rather hold a controller and just jam out to a controller, And I know now everyone's like, "Oh, but you can play, your games with a controller." You couldn't do that back then. Okay, when you had
Yeah.
when you had
Yeah,
a
this is
PC,
very true.
If
You
you're
couldn't use
switching, that wasn't a
controllers.
thing.
The
It was either
only
Yeah, that
get
was.
used to the mouse and keyboard or don't play any PC games at all.
the
Mhm.
only games you could play were ones that used the flight stick. So
yeah.
it was
Oh
just
yeah,
Oh,
airplane
right.
yes.
simulation. That was
Right.
it. That was
Yeah.
it. And like
Oh,
the
man.
ultimate gaming setup was just 2 flight sticks glued to a chair, and you would just sit there and just go
I
ham.
remember. That was me. That was me when I was a kid. I
So
used that.
again, there was no controller functionality on any of these PCs. You know, I remember playing PC back in like 1997. 96, 97 was when I was introduced to playing on the computer,
Hmm.
and one of the first few games was a RTS game. It was like a
Oh.
soldier. It was a soldier's game where you were like a whole bunch of army guys and you was just running around shooting people, but it was an RTS strategy game. And then it became Myst, and then it became Diablo.
This was a good one.
Yeah, and I love those types of games. But then like later on, I started seeing like Quake. Uh, for those who don't remember Quake, or Unreal Tournament. You know, now we're talking about PC exclusive games. Unreal Tournament, Quake, and like games like that. But
Hmm.
again, because you were playing with mouse and keyboard, and I was already familiar with having a controller in my hand, I didn't really stick around and play with the mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
And now the evolutions of console and PC, you can play with those controllers, whatever you're familiar with. But I'm still a console guy. I have an Xbox One. I love playing my Xbox One. The only issue that I have is that the streaming quality on the Xbox One sucks, because I would love to play my damn song requests. Okay, have like a little pop up that
I
says you just
mean,
followed.
I
But
mean, considering that you could even stream on those, because like the
Hmm.
previous consoles weren't even capable of multitasking. I thought
Yeah.
it was the most amazing thing ever when they were like, by the way, we put Windows Snap in the Xboxes, and I was just like, like whoa, to think that something so low performance could handle, a good quality gaming like 60 frames per second, even if it's 960p. There are people who struggle to keep 720 60 frames a second. And then on top of that, you could just snap Netflix on the side and play Netflix. It blew my mind. It was really really cool that they were able to do that. Um, I mean, people can somewhat do that on PC. I don't know. But you have to like jank around with it. This was just instantly there. It just snaps right in. It was
now
cool.
we're gonna continue the whole freedom of PC. Like we just mentioned right now, the streaming quality. Streaming is so much better.
Depending on your build,
Through the PC, yes, of course. Because if you
because
have a crappy ass,
if you have a $500 computer, which is as much as those consoles originally cost, you're
it
gonna
won't
have the
stream.
same quality of stream.
You won't be able to stream
Yeah,
as well.
I
Yeah.
mean, you will be able to, because when Goth first got her PC and she started streaming, that's exactly what she was streaming on, was those like $500 PCs,
Yeah.
and
Now,
it did
now here,
okay, but it couldn't do most games that
It
great.
streamed. The
yeah,
thing
that's what I
is
was gonna
that
say.
with a quality computer that I had before, you're basically only able to play like what I would consider like arcade games and 2D games and such. Like you would have to basically stick to stuff that isn't at all close to like 3D worlds.
Hmm.
So,
It can't be details.
so,
Because we
so
can't.
I have a question. Can you, like, on Goth Angel's computer, can she stream Grand Theft Auto 5?
Well, I can stream pretty much anything now.
Oh, you can.
Because
Oh yeah, now
I
I'm sorry, I
upgraded.
upgraded her graphics
Yeah,
card,
yeah.
so now she
Okay.
actually has a good graphics card.
Okay.
Stuff's
Can you
pretty
stream Grand Theft Auto 5 on high quality?
She could do
Probably.
it on probably on medium quality easily.
Hmm.
On medium quality, okay.
It
Now,
would all be regarding my internet connection as well. The
Yeah,
stability of that.
but that would be a factor that would negatively
But
impact a console too, so that doesn't really matter.
Hmm.
Um,
So
so
computer wise though, yes.
I have to bring something up. I have to go after Rabid in the chat real quick. Just 2 seconds.
Uh-oh.
2 seconds.
Go
Trackball
ahead.
mice are amazing. Do not spit on my trackball mice, okay? I will find you. Matter of fact, I'm going to get mine right now. I'm going to get mine
Oh, no.
right now.
You're in trouble. Oh snap. Oh snap. Okay, so but as Brandon comes back with his trackball mice, that's one thing that I do like about the PC is that you have so much freedom and not only
Mm-hmm.
like building your your computer,
You have no idea how
etc.
useful this thing
But you
is.
have look at that his trackball mice.
It's
You're in
terrible for
trouble.
League of Legends, but it's great in every other form.
So
You stepped away for that.
that's funny. He really is like, I'm gonna go get my stuff right now. So regardless of the trackball mice and stuff, that's one thing. Like you have so much different like functionalities on the PC as it goes to streaming and gaming. Like the thing like mods, great example. Mods just came like Bethesda's the one that announced the mods on the
Mm.
console. But how long ago is that? How long ago has it been since you can put your mods on like Skyrim or like Fallout 3 or New Vegas, and they're just finally bringing that to the console? Like,
Well,
there's just
the mods on the previous versions of the Bethesda games were all made by users, and they were all super janky. This is the first time Bethesda's actually supported mods, like actually supported them and actually put them in as part of like a selection that you can go into. And now it's slightly better, it's slightly less janky, but that's the only reason why it was just like, oh, you can do that on PC. You can do that on console before. You technically couldn't on PC. It wasn't a feature. People just did it.
they just
Mm.
did it, of course, but it was still do you still could be capable of doing it. Now, if you tried to
Right.
mod on like Skyrim or like Fallout, you'd get banned. You know why? Because Microsoft is strict on those things. PlayStation's strict on those things. You can't put mods into your games. Like it was just one of those things that PC had over the console because once again the freedom of the PC. There's like again you have so much freedom, and here's where I'm gonna get at now.
Mm.
Um, indie games. Indie games. Now, the guy above me, he plays a lot of indie games. He loves them so much, right? And I understand why, because indie games are so fun. But Brandon, when did, and this is an example, when did Crypto the Necrodancer came out on PC?
I don't know, a couple years ago,
A couple of years ago, like a year and a half ago. Okay, it came out
something like
around
that.
like late 2015. It just came out yesterday on the Xbox One.
Nice. Real nice.
It just came out yesterday. When did Stardew Valley come out?
No
Wasn't it
idea.
sometime? Wasn't it
That
sometime
was pretty
last
decent
year
though.
or late
I think it
2015
was like
or something
summer
like
of
that?
last year.
Yeah.
Some
The
last
beginning.
year.
It was the spring of 2016. It came out this year on Xbox. So
Huh.
yes, it came out
Oh,
on.
yeah, you're absolutely right.
Here's the thing, like you get these games on the PC, and the functionality is everyone that's doing any games are going to go on the PC first because there's so much freedom. They're much more easier to to engage in all of those things because of like for example Steam.
Oh,
Steam is such a really really well thought out and well organized company that you
except
can
for
go
their
to them.
actual client. The actual
Oh
client
man.
is just a monster. It's disgusting.
Yeah, they're so
But
good.
but
They're so they're so good, and again, they give you the freedom to do what you need to do to make a game. They approve it, they put it
the
out,
the green
and
light system was janky, and actually they just announced and they're now introducing Steam Direct.
Oh yeah.
Makes it
oh
even
yeah,
easier for developers to get out there instead of fighting through Greenlight. And it also means that they'll have to deal with less garbage getting submitted to Greenlight, which is really really cool. Then you have things like Humble Bundle for indie developers, which is just like, hey, I don't have any money. I can't even submit my game to Steam because I can't afford the Steam charges and so on and so forth. So, can you guys put it up on your site? But yeah, if we could put all the money to charity, like yeah, sure.
Mm.
Once it gets popular enough, maybe then I can afford to go onto Steam put it up on Steam and actually make money. I don't mind if
Yeah.
it helps people.
It's
So
a good starter.
it's good, but again, all the clients on PC, like, you know, they're much more easier to go and try and like engage into trying to make their games, as opposed to like Microsoft, where like a lot of people know Microsoft has like really bad problems with developers and stuff. Like
Mostly
if
because
it
they just try to squeeze the money out of them before they make money.
Hmm.
Like
so but
engine developers. Sorry to cut you off. Engine developers like Unity, and Unreal. I don't know how I didn't remember Unreal considering I use their engine.
Oh,
Um,
the Unreal Engine 3 and 4
so
is really
for
good.
particularly
Yeah.
for their new policy is we don't make money until you've made X amount of money, and then we'll take a minute percentage. It's like 1% or something like that of your profits after you've profited X amount of money, but only then. And if you launch your game, you can make 1,000,000 games.
Hmm.
And they won't charge you for it. Before, every game you try to publish, anything you do, so if your game was free, you still had to pay for people to play your game, even if it was free and you had no microtransactions. It's the same everywhere. Like, to
that
post it
makes
on Steam and everything, you have to pay for that.
Yes.
But to use the actual engines and to make your game, and then if you were like, alright, I'm going to host it on my own website and just let people download it and do what they want, that's perfectly free. You can do that without being charged. But to host it on consoles, even to host it on Steam, it costs money, and it's more
Yeah,
for the consoles. And it's
so
more of a fight to get it on there.
yeah,
so
and there's
like
no way
again,
around it for the consoles. It seems like.
see, like the thing with the consoles is that, you know, again, we got Xbox and PlayStation competing with each other. So who's gonna put out the better content? Microsoft's always trying to push out good content. If things don't go their way, you're cut off. We've seen it already with a couple of games that have been uh like they've been completely shut off
Even their own
because
games, they do that too.
yeah, no, of course, with Dragonborn, they've done it with what was it, Fable Legends. But it's not only Microsoft that does it; it's also PlayStation. Like they've also had their issues with a couple of games and, like, you know,
But you know what?
stopping production.
I appreciate that PlayStation has such strict standards that they won't even let you add mods. Or they, for a while, they couldn't even come to an agreement with Bethesda on mods because they said, listen, if our players have to sacrifice the quality of experience or they can risk damaging their console, we absolutely refuse to support this. You have to uphold to our standards. If they drop below 60 frames a second, you're being held responsible for it. And like they're super duper strict about that. Even with their own games, they'll push them back like a year until they're optimized to the point that everything runs at a certain frame rate, at a certain resolution, with certain settings and stuff to it. And once they start going back on it, like PlayStation starts running around with a hammer, like, listen, you better start fixing things or else we're coming to get you. So that's one thing I really appreciate about the consoles, where Steam doesn't do that. There is literally a game called Conan the Pig.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Literally, it came out within days of Conan
about.
Exiles.
Conan Exile, yeah, I know.
And it's just like, oh, look at that. What a coincidence. If you just type in Conan, it comes right up. It's the second option. It's a game for $1. I have no comment on the quality of the game. Then there's another one about being a tomato adventurer, where you're like an Indiana Jones. You're wearing Indiana Jones hat, and you're using
Oh
Indiana Jones whip, and
yeah.
you're a tomato. Like, it just...
Spelunky, I think.
I can't even remember what the game
I
is
think it
called,
was
but
called
like
Spelunky,
the
something like that.
ridiculousness. And every single day, my friend goes to the worst games through Steam that Steam lets on their store, not green lighted, none of that. It's actually posted in their store, and it's just like, okay, buy this for $10. It is absolutely horrendous. It will never be updated from this point on. While the consoles are just like, we're not allowing this. I'm sorry. This is just absolutely absurd, and we think it's appalling that you even considered putting this on our consoles.
So that's one of the things I like about Steam, though. Like, you can get the worst games in there.
Yeah, I mean, at least there's the freedom of putting your horrible games on, but then again, do
I
we really want that? I don't know.
I would I would make the worst video game ever, and it would be the most popular game in the world. Just saying. I need Brandon to make all the stuff though. But regardless, that's one thing I enjoy about the PC, the freedom. But here's where I'm gonna go with the console.
All
And
right.
this is what I enjoy about the console. Right? The constant evolution. It's always evolving, and I love that. There's so many generations of console games or console systems. As I've stated, I started playing the Super Nintendo. Now I want to know what you guys started playing first, because we're all different. We all have our origins of starting gaming. I'm pretty sure we all didn't start on PC, so I want to know.
And
I want to know.
I think that's one of the things that we kind of need to address here, because when it comes to us youngsters, when we think of like when we see a computer, with a mouse and keyboard, I don't know about everybody else, and I don't know about you guys, but I know for me, when I was a kid, whenever I saw a computer and a keyboard, I didn't think of gaming at all. I thought of something like serious. I thought of something like business. I thought of work and all that. And so I grew up with, even though I can say that I am a PC person right now, but I grew up on the consoles just like you, AJ. And my first console that I played with was believe it or not, it was the original NES, like that. I
Same
remember
here.
playing on the original NES, and my family used to. They used to take me to this arcade that was like in the neighborhood that was very, very close by, and I used to play on those video game arcades as well. And that is what I used to think of when I think of video games in general. I think of sitting on your couch and then just using those controllers, or going to the arcades and having that joystick and buttons and all that other stuff. I never really thought of using a keyboard and mouse to play a video game. I think the very first time I used a PC to play a video game was, I think it was either the very first Counter-Strike, because my cousin was really into it back in the day. So it was either the very first Counter-Strike or it was the first StarCraft, because I remember one of my other cousins was also very into StarCraft, and I thought it was really cool because I saw the cutscenes and they looked like a film, and I really wanted to try it. But basically, that was my first experience with PC gaming, and then it didn't really take off from there. I still was a console person until the mid 2000s, when other PC games started to come out, like Left 4 Dead and BioShock, and that is when I started to have a re-interest in PC gaming, and then basically it drove me to what I am now. But I've always usually have been the console person ever since I was a kid, and it started with the NES.
And yeah, see, with me, I was the Super Nintendo, because the year I was born was 1990, and that year the Game Boy, no, the year before the fat white Game Boy came out, and then the SNES came out 1990, and then the following year I got my Super Nintendo with
Mm.
Street Fighter. With Street Fighter, of course. Street Fighter and Super Mario Bros. Or Super Mario World. And but I've always enjoyed playing the NES. Um, the first game I played on the NES was
Mm.
Ice Climbers.
Nice.
Yeah, but
Hated that game, but still nice.
still, it was a really cool game, man. But I think the one thing that I enjoyed a lot of console again was the evolution, because when Nintendo came out with the N64. I think I nerded so much. I was like, "Mom, they're coming out with a new Nintendo. I want it." And me being me, I was a brat. And I was like, "I want the new Nintendo. I want the new Nintendo." Just like, and they were like, "Okay, fine, you're gonna get the new Nintendo." And fair enough. The day it came out, I got a Nintendo 64 with Super Mario 64. I think it was. Yeah, Super Mario 64.
Was
Okay.
that or
And-
Donkey Kong 64? It's got to be one of those two. Those are
No,
like
Donkey Kong 64 came out like
Like
much
later. Yeah, it
much
came out
much
later.
after. Yeah, much
Yeah.
much after.
I think when the Nintendo 64 came out, we had Mario 64 and I think one of the Bombermans. I'm not quite sure.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And
Oh man,
I
that was a
got
good game.
I got Mario 64, and
I
that
love
was
Bomberman.
amazing.
Oh
Then
yeah.
I got Ocarina of Time. Oh, come on, the Triforce. Amazing game. I love that game so much. And then Smash Bros. Just, but my first PC game was the RTS game. It was a soldiers game. I don't even remember what it was called. It was so fun. But the one console game that always stuck to my mind, and was one of the it was one of the very first console PC games I've ever played. And when I say the name, you guys are all gonna laugh. I guarantee you, because it's such an old PC game. Oregon's Trail.
Oh yeah, I remember that
Oregon's Trail.
one. So
That was-
Sounds weird.
I love the new, I guess recreations or reimagines of that game now. I don't know if you've seen them. They're hilarious. You gotta check it out.
But that was the first PC game I've ever played, Oregon's Trail, and it was a game. You it's just a whole bunch of people traveling, and you have to take care of the people, or else they'll die.
No.
And I was like, why do my characters keep dying? They keep dying, damn it. I just don't like this game. I hated it so much. But it was one of the first.
Everybody always died of dysentery.
Yes.
This is like-
Yeah.
I was like, of all the things, like, you would think it'd be like starvation, dehydration, something. No, dysentery. Every single time. So ridiculous. All right.
But I think one of my favorite things, you have the Atari up there. Yes, you do.
Yeah, I do.
My
I put it up
dad-
because somebody mentioned it.
Yeah, my dad had the Atari, and one of the games that I used to watch my dad play when I was younger was Pitfall.
All right, that's
I was
good.
That's a good
actually
one.
mentioning that too.
Pitfall, and Pitfall was a really fun game. He liked that, and he also had what was the other one?
Space Invaders.
No, he didn't. I don't think he
Asteroids,
had
I think it is.
Asteroids. Asteroids was great too, and he used to play that a lot. But me with my dad, we always went to the arcades. We would play like there we would play Space Invaders, or one of our favorite things we would do was play NBA Jam.
Nice. Real nice, real nice, real nice.
And my dad loved like basketball, so he was huge on NBA Jam. We would play NBA Jam, or like sometimes we would go and play the. That's when the shooters started coming out, and the one that came out around like the late '90s was Virtual Cop.
Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. No, those were the rail shooters, not the first-person shooter. Those are the arcade
No,
rails.
the rail. That's the shooter games.
Okay.
The rail shooters, and that was Virtual Cop, and we was playing that a lot in the arcades. But yes, the Pong, I've seen that arcade cabinet before, and this is where we're gonna get into the arcade cabinets, because arcade cabinets was one of the like most popular things going around. Now, if you guys don't know the history of consoles, before everyone says PC Master Race, if it weren't for consoles, we wouldn't be saying PC Master Race, guys, because the first
Games,
video
really.
game
Electronic
device-
games.
First video game device, whatever, was a console. Tark did say the Odyssey a while back, and that was the first official one, but many of them were, here's the thing. Many of them were a console itself hooked up to a PC.
The days when
To
we
it.
worked together.
Yes, but it was, so yeah, one of the things that I did enjoy was playing a lot of the arcades. There's the Pong arcade. I've actually seen that before. But my favorite arcade of the old would always be, and we were talking about it, Miss Pac-Man, and that one was always a great arcade to play, and it was so fun. But we're shying away from freaking consoles and gaming and PCs, talking about arcades.
So
Since
I wanted to jump in and just talk about like my couple of first experiences, stuff like that with consoles and gaming and all that.
All
So
right.
for me, my first, as far as like games in general goes, I believe it was one of the Mario games. I'm trying to remember if it was NES or Super NES. 'Cause
Mario
we
Kart
played
came out to the
so
SNES.
no, the Mario games, like the Super Mario World
Like the
Oh.
games,
side-scrolling
yeah,
ones get from
the
point A to
side-scrolling,
point B.
the
Yeah.
side-scrolling platformers. So, when we were kids, my mom, first of all, my mom loves video games.
Nice.
Everyone in my family loves video games, except for my grandmother, but probably because she's never found Cooking Mama. Um,
That's great.
yo, I know if my grandmother found Cooking Mama, she'd be like, "Oh, this is cool, but where's the adobo? I don't see it on there."
Adobo.
But no,
That's
I know
great.
she would love it too. But everyone in my family loves video games. That is a fact. So
Lucky you.
we've gone through every iteration of everything. I think we slowed down recently, kind of. Like we haven't gotten all the Nintendo ones anymore, but we've went through the NES, Super NES, 64, the Dreamcast, everything. So at some point in time, the first ones I knew we had were the Nintendo ones. I knew I played games from there.
Yeah.
One of the games that really got me hooked into gaming was the Mega Man games, especially the ones on the handheld Game Boy, the original Game Boy Entertainment System. Excuse me.
Mega Man on the Game Boy? No.
Yeah, Dr. Wily's Revenge.
Yeah.
Dr. Wily's Revenge.
Oh yeah, you did say that. You did
I
say
can
that.
Google
Yeah.
that one for you.
Yeah, you did. You did
Um,
mention that. You're right.
So
you're right.
we've gotten everything all the way going down to the Wii. We didn't get the Wii U because we didn't even play the Wii. I think we played the Wii a little bit. We were playing the sword fighting game. Oh man, what was it? There was a Nintendo the sports one. Wii Sports. There we go.
Okay.
Wii Sports game where you get the little foam swords and you can swat at each other and everything. We're mostly just cheating, going like that, you know. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I am planning to get the Switch too. Now, we've gotten every handheld of the Nintendos except for the Virtual Boy.
I can't. Oh, that's the one I got.
Yeah.
I didn't spend my money on that. That is the worst crap.
Yeah,
Okay.
I smelt the sketch on it from like how sketchy it was, how much I didn't want it. Like the instant I laid my eyes on it, I was like, I don't want that.
So
But we got I've had the 3DS. My brother has the 3DS XL. I'm getting the Switch. You know, it keeps going.
I bought into the Virtual Boy hype, and not for nothing, I had the coolest game on the Virtual Boy, which was the Wario Land.
Oh, of course.
And
But,
it was a fun game, but after you played it, you would be like this.
So like so
Which,
aside from like the handhelds and all that kind of, like we've literally had everything, and my mom would be sitting there like screaming as she's trying to like play racing games and fighting games. My mom has the Xbox One racing wheel, for example. Like we've gone through all that. It's ridiculous. But anyways, to get back on the point, even when we started getting into PC gaming, we still got the consoles. Like, even though the second we laid our eyes on the Xbox One, like on the announcement trailer, the next day my mom gave me a call from work. She's like, "So I was looking at the Xbox One announcement trailer." I'm like, "Aren't you at work?" Like, that's not the point. You're not listening to me right now. I said I was looking at the trailer. So what do you think? I was like, "Well, I got a gaming computer." She's like, "I didn't say it was for you. I'm asking you, what do you think? I'm trying to get one." I was like, which one should I get? What game should I start off with? I was like, well, we can always get the Titanfall edition and then pick up this game and get the racing wheel. Now she wants like a DX racer to mount her racing wheel on and all. She's gone nuts with it. At some point in time, she's probably gonna want a gaming PC, you know. Yeah, I have the Xbox One myself. My brother has the PS4. Whenever one of us wants to borrow the other console, we usually just swap. But for the most part, since we both have friends on those particular consoles, which is why we got those particular consoles, that's what we stick to. Me and my little brother, we got everything. He's even got a gaming computer. I actually stole his RAM to use that for a server, but I'm gonna give it back to him so he can play his gaming games soon.
So here's the important one. What about you, Goth? Goth,
Yeah,
Miss
there we go.
Quiet, Miss. Let me fold my
I'm
ankles right
listening.
here and let me show them off like this. You know.
Right.
What about you? What about you? Like the fingerless gloves, by the way.
I honestly can't remember like one of the first consoles I got because it was like such a long time ago. I know I pretty much had like all of them at some point when I was younger. I just never really played on a lot of them. So like the first official one, obviously for me, was the N64. But I think I did have the NES as well. I just didn't play on it as much, and I know I had a Game Boy, definitely, because I remember I had the one before they came out, the colored ones. So, so I would play on those, and I would play a lot of Mario games on it. But for the PC, the thing is, I can't remember if I had PC first or if I had a console first, but I know that I at least had a PC a long time ago, and I know that because I used to play a bunch of different games on like little floppy disk. So that was a fun moment for the gaming. It was like really, really old school. I did enjoy PC gaming, but I did at the time enjoy the console gaming a lot more. But for the PC, I had Pitfall, which is something you mentioned.
Pitfall on the PC? I haven't done that yet.
I did have Pitfall for the PC, and so it was really, really old. It was really fun though to play. That game, I definitely tell you, that was one of the first like sort of like adventure games that I played that I really enjoyed, and that I first realized my horrible ability to not jump properly.
Goth is vertically challenged, digitally and physically.
It was a lot of falling and a lot of failing, and I was very, very upset little child.
The one thing Goth is good at in Borderlands is taking shortcuts down cliffs.
Yes, yeah, I take lots of shortcuts down. Not always on purpose, but I take a lot of shortcuts.
She's not allowed to drive anymore for that reason, too.
Alright, so I'm gonna try and conclude fast. We did do a great amount of talking, but the next question will be the last. We all get our say, and then, you know, etc., etc. Final question. What do you think of the evolution of console gaming and PC gaming? And I will start first. I'm very excited for console gaming, especially since, one, we're getting a lot of the virtual reality aspect into our gaming, our console gamings now. I consider myself a console gamer because I don't have a PC and I've always played on console. And so I do appreciate that we're finally getting... This only happens on Skype, people. I am very excited that we're getting our virtual reality. As you guys have seen, Resident Evil 7 has been a huge success. And part of that reason is because of the experience of playing on the virtual reality. Now, Xbox hasn't had theirs yet, but they're talking about Cerberus coming out pretty soon.
Oh, cool.
And I'm pretty excited for that. I also would like to see like this whole PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox Scorpio. What are they gonna introduce as opposed to what Xbox One and PS4 has already brought to the table? And of course the Switch. That's probably one we're gonna talk about later down on the road. But I am excited for the Switch. The one thing I had issue with Nintendo was the lack of games that they had, and that's because they weren't talking to different publishers, developers, etc. But now they're talking about having 92 games at launch, which is
None of which will be free. I think that's gonna be my biggest upsetting part, because with all their consoles, they had like one free game, and that one free game was always really entertaining, and it demonstrated what they did really, really well. And Tark just died. What happened to Tark?
What?
Oh no!
I think meant like he was like literally dead for a second.
Oh no,
what?
no, he just
Don't
fell
die
out of Skype.
Oh no!
Like my priorities, guys.
So
Don't die,
so
champ.
we apologize. Tark is AFK for now. I don't know where he's at.
Or he's ripped right now.
He is ripped. This hasn't happened yet. This is the first time, guys.
Oh yeah, I
This is the
totally
first
forgot about the
time.
Sega.
Oh,
Sega
now you
what?
I
forgot.
totally
You
forgot about
remember?
that. I played Sonic the Hedgehog on there.
Oh.
There
I
you go.
remember that. There we go. That was one of the first consoles as well. So it was either between the NES or the Sega. Either way, one of those were definitely first.
But I'm gonna continue.
Technical
Tark, let's see when Tark comes back.
Maybe his internet.
Look,
there you
look,
go.
Tark.
It was my internet. I'm
Oh
sorry.
man, I was about to go
Internet
replace you with Jake the
problems.
dog too. Oh well. I was getting an animated GIF of Jake the dog
Sorry
to
about
replace
that,
you
guys.
with.
He's back.
I'm
So
so sorry.
I'm excited. Again, I'm excited for the Switch. I'm excited for the consoles. Brandon just said there's like Intel and all the other companies competing with each other. They're making a lot of competitive stuff, but they're also
Yes.
making the PC a much better piece of equipment, and that's also a plus. Gaming right now is at an all-time high.
yeah, if that's something we can't complain about, it's definitely gaming.
Gaming's at an all-time high, and I can't complain, of course. And we'll see what the gaming world brings to us as it comes to the hardware. And I'm excited. I'd love to see more evolutions. I'd love to see where handheld comes into play. I haven't been a handheld player. I'm pretty sure that's Brandon. Brandon loves it. His whole
I still use
handheld stuff.
handheld as well. 3DS XL.
Hmm.
Your
But-
tablet and your phone too.
Yep, true.
But
That's
But-
another area we completely forgot about mobile.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
mobile, you're right. But mobiles count as consoles though.
Well,
No. Well, we'll talk about that separately then.
No, I really
that's why the Switch
just
is
fun.
considered one of the first major hybrid consoles,
Hmm.
because it's actually hybrid. It's actually detachable from the console base and can go places.
Yeah. But I'm excited for all of this, and I'm hoping to see more. What about you guys?
Well, personally for me, this is actually really interesting because another thing that we like hovered over tonight, but we didn't really talk about, was like the cross platforms. We mentioned briefly about hybrids, we mentioned briefly about exclusives, but when it comes to like the cross platforms and all that, we have video games where they're both for like the PC, and then there is like it's also out for the console as well,
Mhm.
And so basically it's one of those things where it's like, for me, this is going to be hard for me to determine, because it's going to be like, we just now are getting Stardew Valley for the console. We just now are getting Star Trek Online and DC Universe Online, when we already had that for the PC for years.
Yeah.
And all that other stuff. It's almost like, yeah, so even though it started off as one thing and it's switching over to the other, it's still going to satisfy like these two different sides, these two different communities and mediums and such. And so when we like to argue, oh, which one's better, which one feels better, looks better, and all that, personally, I think that goes just by personal preference and all that. Just because I think, Rise of the Tomb Raider, it looks very good on the PC. Some people might argue Rise of the Tomb Raider looks better on the Xbox One, and hence the reason why they choose that game as their main centric game to show off the technology. And
Hold
so,
on. I'm sorry to cut you off. But have you ever played Batman Arkham Knight on the PC?
I know about how bad that is. Yes, what about it?
No,
That's it?
That's it. It's terrible.
Okay.
Just wanted to know that one thing apparently.
Yes.
Okay. So it's one of those things where, like, yeah, maybe some ports are not going to be as good, some ports will, it all depends. But when it comes to this, the evolution and all that, so since we're talking about evolution, I like what's going on here, because I do like what you said, AJ, how when it comes to the console gaming, we're getting more and more innovative, and we're getting more and more delving into like new technology, how to make it more of an experience for the gamers, when the PC is like, yeah, we're creating interesting games, more video games, and just the stuff that we all like. I mean, why fix what's not broken? But for the console stuff, we're getting into like really interesting stuff. We're getting like I even remember now, it's been almost 10 years, but I remember nearly 10 years ago going out to GameStop at midnight just to get my Nintendo Wii, and I was flipping out saying, oh my gosh, I can actually play a Zelda game using motion controls. That's going to be so cool and all that. It's like that. And now look where we're heading off into. It's like this. And so I think it's interesting. I'm really excited to see what happens. But when it comes to like what's better, the console or the PC, it's all based on preference.
It's on your preference, and especially since with a lot of the games that are being thrown into PC rather than console, a lot of the games on PC now are having like controller compatibility. So it's like, man, which one? Like it gives you this thought in your head where you're just like, man, now I have to choose between which one I want, or literally buy it on both. I think that's the part where it's like best of both worlds, but it's also like a debate in your head on which one you would rather choose.
And plus, for the PC, we can plug in a controller and we can
exactly.
It'll still work fine.
We could just put it on a controller. We could still. It feels like we're on the console, anyways.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's even a little better than the console, in my opinion, only because they are able to set the sensitivity levels for your controller, which I think is amazing, and I wish they did on console. Maybe they will in the future, who knows? But I think they definitely should input sort of like sensitivity level for controllers on your console as well, so that way you're playing to the best of your ability, because for some people the controller settings don't work as well for them on console as they do on PC. So that's definitely something to also think about when it comes to which one you want to choose, console or PC.
Yeah. So as much as I can just sit here and say, yeah, I'm more of a PC person as I am, but that doesn't mean I completely disregard the console stuff. Like just recently I was talking to a friend of mine and we were talking about upcoming video games, and I was like, oh, right. Kingdom Hearts 3 is not out yet, and that's going to be only for consoles. So that means I got to brush up my PlayStation 4 and get it ready for that,
See, that's the thing, because that's why console still steals our heart in a way when you think about it, because there's certain games that we could only get on console. So we're just like, okay, well now this is mine. I have to stick with it.
So for all you guys that are like, PC Master Race, you can't play Mario. You can't play Mario.
unless you get those ROMs and those Mario knockoff games.
Sketchy
illegal
buggy ROMs.
Illegal emulators over there.
Yeah, and for me, the big thing about for me, consoles were like a huge thing for me when I was growing up, because of Harvest Moon. I couldn't play that on PC, so I would have to like literally just stick to that, and I had no problem with it though, because I did really enjoy Nintendo. So I'm always happy to buy any Nintendo like console just because of the Harvest Moon that I am able to play on. Yeah, that's my thing.
So I suppose I'm last, and I guess
Yes.
that's fitting. Considering where I sit on this. So for me, every device has its purpose. I'm not an elitist in any regard for anything. I use a Mac laptop. I really like Arch Linux, and Windows has its purpose. Every console has its purpose, and my family has everything. We can't, and we don't want to be, and we are not biased towards anything. We will crack jokes. We'll always do that, but we're not biased towards anything. The one thing I do have to say is that for all the pushes that we have towards this and that, like customizability, better graphics, and all that kind of stuff, the consoles, because of their lack of upgradability, will always trail behind until the console market decides to make that jump where they are going to be more modular. Now, the problem being is that when they decide to do something like that, it's going to upset their customer base. Because now their customer base is like, great, so now I have to worry about upgrading my console every time I want to play the newest game, and so on and so forth.
And some games might require that. So.
Yeah.
Hold on. Now, I also want to ask this question. If you make a console, you know, if you give it freedom to customize it, is it still a console?
The only thing that would make it a console at that point in time is the interface.
It's the interface and the logo.
That's it. It's just the interface and the logo. And then at that point, it comes down to three things. So, which one is going to be harder to fight piracy on? And then it's gonna be which one's gonna be harder to fight piracy on?
Oh man.
Which one's gonna charge you more just to be on their store?
Yeah.
And then 3, we have what was gonna be the third one? Oh, what limitations are we going to run into? So, like, in the sense of, okay, are we, for example, if let's say a console just won't allow you to upgrade, are we going to be limited on certain graphics? Or if they do allow you to upgrade, are we still confined to support the lowest possible margin? Or are we allowed to say, hey, you have to have this certain upgrade? And that's another issue with PCs. So, with PCs, a lot of people are like, PC's best because you could just run all your games on it. That's not true. A lot of games have minimum requirements, and for a very long time, I know a lot of people couldn't play games because of minimum requirements.
Yeah.
I have a friend.
At that point, it feels like you just have to keep dishing out money to get.
And it's like you need to upgrade your graphics card. Okay, but in order to upgrade your graphics card, you have to upgrade your power supply. Okay, so I upgraded my power supply and graphics card. You don't have enough RAM. Okay, I'll add more RAM. You can't add more RAM. You need to upgrade your motherboard. I'll upgrade the motherboard. You can't upgrade the motherboard because you need a new processor.
Exactly.
Okay,
So
I'll upgrade the processor. Okay, you upgraded the processor, but now your hard drive is dying from all those years of use, so you need to upgrade. I recommend an SSD. So you upgrade to an SSD. Your SSD doesn't have enough storage. So now you either got to cut back or add more. And you know, it starts stacking up. Just the constant tweaking. Don't get me wrong, it's great that we could constantly tweak and constantly make it better. But
the maintenance makes it less.
There is no standard for support on PCs. There's no one saying you have to support this, you have to do that, or anything like that. Because there's no standard. Anyone could be like, okay, you have to. At any point in time, someone could just be like, nope, you have to have at least an NVIDIA 1070 to play this game or greater. Otherwise, you can't play this game. There's still people who are gonna buy it. They know it. And it's going to look amazing. But you know what? Everyone else in the market's going to be left out, and there's nothing you can do about it. You could try running it on your computer, and it will run like flaming mud, which is going to be the most incomprehensible thing in the entire world. But that's just how it's going to run on a computer that doesn't meet the minimum standards. That is one of the few... one of the few great things about consoles is that with their strict rules and stuff, you have to support it. My Xbox One, if I ever want to get a game and never have to worry about graphics or anything like that, I could just throw a game in there and do that. And I know that the functionality is always going to be there. And it's going to be significantly less than maintaining and upgrading my PC, which my PC, I've dumped so much money and so many upgrades into it
Oh,
that I
man.
built a second PC out of the spare parts of my first PC, which is now Goth's PC. And then on top of that, the spare parts that I've used from hers, I built a data server from. So like, it's just, I started ending up with mountains and mountains of parts that are just useless and I can't do anything with over the last like 10 years, you know?
Hmm.
That sounds so much fun. But see, that's the thing about PC. You gotta keep on refreshing it and updating
Yeah.
it, and but it's a lot of people like that,
And that's
and
why I think the console market needs to shift. Now, Xbox and Microsoft, they realized this and they tried really early on to make that shift. And then you have the whole E3 Xbox One debacle where
oh
Xbox
yes, that
was
was
like,
terrible.
so you say it
Oh.
was terrible. No offense, you're the console player. That is the problem that doesn't
Mhm.
allow consoles to shift. The Xbox One, if you looked carefully, they basically changed their system to be just like Steam. They basically were trying to turn the
Yeah.
Xbox console into the Steam machine.
Yeah, but see, here's why it was terrible. Okay, so if you're gonna build off of that, like you're gonna build off of, let's say, okay, we want our Xbox to be like Steam. Here's the problem: you still have a disc.
Now you
You
have the
still have
option of a
yeah,
disc.
yeah, but still, okay. So you're telling me that
So, hold on.
I
Before you continue, I know what you're getting at. So you're talking about how you can install the game from the disc, right? And then
Mm.
you have to leave the disc in there in order to play the game. You didn't have to do that. The original model was if you entered in your serial key from your case,
the
just like you
serial
would with
key.
Steam, you
Yes,
could
okay, I
install from the
understand.
disc or just download the game online. It's tied to your account and you're done. That's it. You don't need the
Okay,
disc anymore. The disc can be thrown in the garbage. You never have to see it again, just like with Steam.
okay. So here's the problem. Here's where I'm getting at. Let's say you're someone who travels a lot and you
Hmm.
take your Xbox with you,
Okay.
right? This is where consoles are much over on PC. You don't get internet connection everywhere.
Okay.
So if you're playing on your Xbox and you don't have internet anywhere, how are you going to play your games?
As long as your game was installed to an Xbox account and you use the serial key and
But
use
you
the
need
disc to
you
install it,
you need
you only need the internet for the original design. You only needed the internet to verify the key. Otherwise, you couldn't play online. How are you going to play online with no internet?
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're saying you're still using the disc.
You use the disc to install it. You have no internet, so you can't download it.
But here's the problem. Here's the issue that I'm talking about. You can't do that with Steam because once you don't have internet, you don't have access to those games.
So that's why the Xbox model was better. You were able to download the game from the disc onto the console without an internet connection. You were able to. The only thing is you couldn't get updates. You couldn't do anything without the active connection. So that's why they said you need to have your console always connected to the internet. It's going to have that sleep mode where it does this and that. They did all that literally to just do exactly what Steam machines do. If you leave your PC running, Steam auto updates. Xbox is designed to do the same thing.
Okay, now I get where you're coming from. And we can go about this all day, but we're just because
Literally the biggest downfall, like the biggest complaint of console gamers was like, "Oh, so I can't resell my game to GameStop?"
yeah,
You're
that is
destroying the market by doing that.
but here's the thing. Okay, I'll give you an example. I am one of those people that I switched. I'm completely switched. I only go digital. But back then, when the Xbox One first came out, I used to buy everything on disc. Right now, I bought this one game.
Mm.
I don't know if you guys ever played Watch Dogs 1, the first one.
All right.
It wasn't good. It was how would you say it was a letdown? And
Continue.
I regretted buying it, and I was like, I'm gonna give it back to X. I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna go back to GameStop and get like at least $30 for it.
How long did you play that game for?
About like 2 weeks.
How many hours of gameplay did you put into that game?
About like 40.
Steam would not allow you to refund that game.
Yeah.
It's true.
That's
Steam doesn't allow you to refund that game. If you bought the physical copy of that game for PC, you can't refund it either. Just be aware of that. The consoles with the digital license, you could trade off the digital licensing. So basically what Xbox does is it takes your key, it pulls it off your console, you can't play the game anymore. From that point you could delete it off your console if you want, doesn't matter. But you can't play the game anymore, and it refunds you a portion of the money back unless you did basically what Steam does. If you played only X number of hours, or there's been a known critical issue with the game that no one's been able to play it or everyone's having problems, they'll give you an extended grace period where they say, okay, you could have a full refund for the digital copy of the game, and it's going to go straight into your Microsoft account. You could buy any digital copy through here, or if you want to go back to the retailer, you could talk to them about doing a full refund. That was how the policy was.
I think I would just rather go back and sell my game.
But then you're selling your game back to GameStop. How much money did you get for that $60 game that you played?
No, you're right.
For 2
Only
weeks?
like $30.
Not barely even that. So with Microsoft's policy, with the amount of negative reviews that it got, and with everything that happened, even if you had played it for like 30 hours, they would have been like, hey, instead of going to GameStop and selling that game for $30, you could sell it to us for like $40. You want to know the reason they did this is because they'd rather you put the credit back into Microsoft, because then you're forced to buy official licensed material through Microsoft, which supports not only the consoles, but it also supports the developers. So now,
okay,
go ahead.
Now, did they say everything that you're saying right now?
Yes. Everyone
No, they
ignored
did not.
them.
No, they
yes.
did not.
Everyone
They
just
did not
flat out.
explain it that way.
Everyone
If you-
flat out
if you-
ignored them because they
if you would've
couldn't
said
go
this-
to GameStop. It was literally because they couldn't go to GameStop and get their money back. But Microsoft was like, "Listen, guys, you can return your digital copies too." And everybody was like, "Nope, not good enough."
See, if you would have said this instead of, you can't go and sell your games back. You can't. No, you have to. And this and that. The way it was presented, the way Microsoft presented that conference, because I've seen it like 5 times. And I guarantee you that everything you just said was not what that dude
Because
said.
they did it in a separate release because there was so much outcry. They said, "Listen, let us explain to you." It's a presentation. They're not going to spend 3 hours explaining the fine details when they thought it should have been obvious.
They should know, but see, that's the issue. It should have been obvious, but you got to understand, a lot of gamers are simple.
That's the problem. They're pleading down to a simple. They're pleading down to a simple market and worshiping a simple market, and because of that, they will always lose. The consoles will always lose because there are people who don't want to change, who don't want to go forward, and who don't want to learn more and grow up.
Dude, I didn't have an issue. I even pre-ordered it the day after it was they did the whole conference. I was like, I'm getting the Xbox One regardless, because I just loved everything that was displayed. They didn't even talk about games. I was like, I'm getting the Xbox One. that was it. And it's again, loyalty to the console. That's what I have. I'm very loyal to the Xbox. I have my 360 here. I love my 360, and now they were like, okay, well I'm gonna switch to the Xbox One. I have no problem with that. I didn't care about the whole you couldn't sell back your Xbox games, because guess what? I still have stupid Watch Dogs. I didn't even sell it. I still have Watch Dogs, the disc. But I ended up switching to digital because I thought it was you're correct. That's the route everyone's going right now. And yes, one day we're all gonna go digital, and everything is gonna be.
So, it's great that it's going digital, and I'm really happy for it. And the whole plan was literally that if that had went off without a hitch, everything had went perfectly well, though literally the future was to eventually lay out the point where they stop producing consoles. You just take your current console, you upgrade the platform, and they're basically going to have a cloud computing platform. The whole point was that literally everything, your whole game, was run off their server, and your console was just an interface.
Yeah.
But because of the huge backlash they got, that whole plan's been struck off the market. You would have never had to buy a new console again on their like new base plan. And all you would have to do was keep paying the Xbox Live subscription, which probably wouldn't have went up a lot more. But you know what? No new consoles, no nothing. All you had to do was just whatever you want, plug it into the USB on your console or your computer, whatever your platform is. You connect it to your platform, connect to their cloud, buy your digital licensed games, and you're done. You don't even have to download or anything like that. But that's all been thrown out the window because of that event.
I think it was just explained really bad, though. That's just my that was just the whole.
Yeah, maybe
the
they
problem
did
is
dumb it down for certain people.
The problem
They
is
should
they
have dumbed it
shouldn't
down,
have taken
exactly.
it back. They
should've-
shouldn't have taken it back. That's what I'm saying.
They shouldn't have taken it back. They shouldn't have. They should have went back in and like, wait, maybe we didn't explain this correctly. Maybe we didn't simplify it enough. I don't know. Let me
Maybe-
try
But if
explaining
they had
it this
if
way.
they had said that, then
Um,
honestly console players would have been like, "Are you saying we're stupid? We're smart. We like our Call of Duty."
Yeah, if no, who cares?
We like our Call of Duty.
I just did that, yes.
Yes.
Because
Alright,
that's
so-
the
Sending
other
stuff.
issue with the market is these games where they rely on loyalty instead of putting out
All right,
content worth
let's
purchasing.
close out. Any last words?
Um,
Oh, after you, Brandon.
I'm looking forward to eventually when we might be able to just stick to cloud gaming, and when PCs are permanently like this size but still perform like exceptionally well, which they do right now thanks to liquid cooling. This is a PC build that my friend and I were looking at, and this thing runs a 1080. Like this case can fit a 1080, can
Jeez,
fit an
really?
i7. Yes.
It's so tiny.
Yep, and it just all has to be liquid cooled. Other than that, though, it's really cool stuff.
Yeah, that
I'm
would be
looking forward
awesome.
to when everything is super small, so you could literally take your full-size gaming PC, hook it up to just a 4K TV, like duct tape it to the back of your 4K TV, never have to think about it again. Everything's all good. That's what I'm looking for.
And Tark, what about you?
Basically, I would have the same thing as Brandon, because if we were to get something just like that size, you know what I mean? If we were to get something that size and just have everything that we want on it, that would be like, not only is it a game changer, but that's also the life changer for us gamers and us people who are interested in like the arts and all that stuff. Because funny thing is, even though like I have a gaming PC right now, I'm using it right now, but I don't just use it for gaming. I can use it for other stuff and all that. And the funny thing is, if we were to just have it that size and just have it be like that, that would be great. But also just seeing at the evolution of these console games and all that, it's just great to see how far we've gotten. We've gotten from like that one little joystick game that we could play for like racing games or those spaceship games or anything like that, to something where all of a sudden we're putting on virtual reality goggles and it's like we're there. For all we know, sooner or later, the Matrix is going to come to life, for all we know, and all that. And so...
They're working on it. I've already read the research on it.
Nice. So basically, I just like to see, I just like where it's going, and it's just making me excited for what could happen and what is to happen and all. And so, yeah, keep it going, and it doesn't matter whether you are the PC or the console person or anything like that. You can love both. I love both, but what AJ and what Brandon and what Goth was saying too, there is the budgeting part of it and all that other stuff. Like, yes, I do have a PS4, and yes, I do have an Xbox One and all that other stuff, and I do have a gaming PC and all that. But unfortunately, I play with my PC majority of the time because I don't want to just go up and hook up my console to the television when I'm only going to play that for like a certain number of hours, when I can just sit here and play literally almost the exact same thing, if not the exact same thing, right here. Don't need to get up, and I can do other things on it as well. You know what I mean? So basically, there is no pick a side. There is no civil war. We can just be both, and we're going to enjoy both because that's what it is. Everything is evolving, and it's all gaming, and we all love it. So
At the end of the day, you're all freaking gamers, and you're all freaking awesome. The end.
Pretty
Now,
much.
Oh wait, what about you, Goth? What about you, Goth?
yes,
I definitely look forward to the extreme gaming technology that's coming up pretty soon, and the continuation of that, because that would be really amazing. I would definitely love to own my own like virtual reality set. That'd be great. When things are actually in the making, and well, I know they're in the making now, but like when they're a little more further down along the line and they're a little more stabilized, then I would be willing to invest money into that stuff.
The technology will never
But
be perfect in my eyes
of course
until
not.
the HoloLens will allow me to watch Netflix while walking around the house and cooking and doing what I gotta do, or sitting at work with my HoloLens pretending to do work while I just watch Netflix. I just want to be entertained while pretending to live life. That's it.
okay.
Well, that's the
And
thing.
Tark said we're all gonna be in a Matrix, so expect wearing
Right.
leather pants and
Yeah.
leather clothes.
Well,
Fine by me. Fine
either
by
way,
me.
whether
I look good in leather.
whether
It's okay.
whichever
I
you
do.
choose, I think what we have to, learn from this, either way, you will be shelling out cash regardless. So,
Pretty much.
usually with PC, a little more cash. So, if you have the money for it, then no problem there. Just remember, literally, it's not a competition, even though that's the way it's portrayed. Like what you like. Choose, don't choose, it doesn't matter. Just enjoy your gaming experience.
Pretty much. Okay. Now, for the thing that everyone does not want to expect, or they don't care about, AJ's anime of the week.
Like your Brandon was ready
I
for
was
it.
hovering my cursor over the button
I
because I knew
knew
it was
it.
coming.
I knew
I
it. Took a
love
banner
how
just
it's
for
built,
that.
and
I put up this
I'm
one
addicted.
because it was a banner too, just so it fits in there.
I'm gonna do one, just one, but it's the one right now that I'm currently watching and I've been enjoying so much, and it is called Masamune-kun's Revenge.
My friend told me about this one. It is absolutely hilarious. You have to give the synopsis for people to truly appreciate how absolutely ridiculous and amazing this anime is.
So it's about a guy, Masamune. That's I'm just giving him. All right, he's like an absolute stud. He looks gorgeous. All the girls are flaunting over him, right? And he shows up to school and he sees this one girl who they call the Ice Queen because she would literally reject everyone from school and give him a horrible nickname. And he finds out that that girl is someone he knew from the past who he had a crush on and confessed to her, and she just like rejected him and nicknamed him Pig's Feet because he was a chubby wubby little kid. So he ended up losing all his weight, and he ended up becoming a stud, so that he can go make her fall in love with him and him reject her in front of everybody in school.
Jeez, well,
He just literally wants to seduce her so he can break her heart.
Yep.
so it's a anime about revenge, obviously from the title
Yes.
and the description.
It's an
And
anti-love story.
it's an
Yes,
anti-love
sounds like
story,
it.
but it is very entertaining. It's on Crunchyroll if you guys have Crunchyroll. It's so funny. Unfortunately, if you're like Goth Angel over here who just does not like reading subtitles, you guys are gonna have to wait a while for it because there is no subs for it. I mean, there's no
Dubs.
dub. There's no dub, but it is really good. It's very funny, and if you actually are willing to sit down and read the subtitles, it's really good. If
Or you can
don't
pick up the
watch-
manga.
or you can pick up the manga. Yes,
Yeah, that exists, AJ. Reading.
it does. You're absolutely correct. I support reading manga. I don't support reading books. Tark is gonna kill me for that.
Oh, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. I'm holding myself back. It's all good.
Yeah, I know you are. So,
Oh, Tark,
if
I
you
got some
guys-
good books I should recommend to you later, too.
if you guys
Oh,
want to
snap.
watch an anime, Masamune-kun's Revenge. If you guys want to watch a dubbed one, what dubbed one can I? Goth Angel just watched one. What did you watch this week?
Prison School.
What? No.
No, not Prison School. I'm not recommending Prison School, okay?
Well, I finished Story of Devil, and that was really good. It's like an assassin type of anime, so it was pretty great. That's all I'm saying about it, though, because if I give any more away, I'm pretty much giving away the entire plot.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
It's
Did
very
you like it?
serious anime.
I did enjoy it, though. And all the characters, personally speaking, are really cute. There's mainly female characters in it, though, so, like, if you're thinking, hey, this is an anime, like, it's not really romantic, and it's also not really, what do you call it? It's not diverse with characters. There's only a set amount of characters, and those are pretty much the only people you see throughout the entire series. But it's good, and it's a really short anime, so if you can get through 12 episodes, then there you go.
There you go. Story
It's
of
good.
Devil.
Good short one.
And that, folks, was the podcast. Everyone here, would you like to say anything else?
No, not really.
I would like to call a vote and say that we should also do books of the month at some point in time. So Tark and I have stuff to say at the end.
I agree
Okay,
with that.
of the month.
Of the month.
Okay, fair enough.
I think it'd be terrible to do one every week or something like that. Books should be enjoyed, not speed read through.
Yep,
Well,
that's true.
now that we're doing the podcast every other week, we can definitely do the anime of
Movies,
the
books,
week.
anime, manga, the works.
Recommendations.
No, Tark, that's just too much.
We can do recommendations.
Okay, how about on the gaming
Yeah, on the gaming part, like the
Oh, yeah,
gaming
definitely.
weeks, we can recommend
Game
like
stream.
1 or 2 things.
yes, on the gaming.
I definitely want to do 1 book a week. I mean, 1
Mhm.
book a month. Week. That'd be horrible.
Yeah, so for those of you who didn't hear it when we first began the podcast, we will be switching our schedule around just for convenience sake. So it'll be like every other Saturday instead of every single Saturday.
Every other week, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, every other weekend, guys, we will be here instead.
So we're doing 2 podcasts a month,
Yeah, those will
maybe.
be the official podcast days.
And on the days off of the podcast, we'll be playing a game.
Yeah, it'll be gameplay.
Yes. So you guys, we can interact with you guys more, and we can
Yeah,
we
on
can-
those days we will be way more interactive with everyone. We'll be
so
able to talk to you guys, answer any questions you have, all that good stuff.
so on that note, thank you all for stopping by. You guys have been awesome. I hope that you guys come back the next time. It's not next week, but the following week. And who knows what the subject's about. But regardless, thank you all for stopping by, and
That's pretty much it.
That's it, peace
But
out.
they should come in every week anyways because we're doing gameplay.
Yeah,
How
I'll be
about
doing
this?
gameplay. You'll get
How about this?
notifications. Turn them on.
how about this? That'll do, pig.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
All right,
That'll-
so thank
that'll
you
do,
guys so
pig.
much for tuning in this week. Hope to see you guys again soon, and keep a lookout on our Discord for upcoming topics and also announcements. So once again, I am Tark201.
I am Bushido X Wolf.
Nothing 21129.
Glorious. I am.
Nah, that's not your name. Sorry.
But I am
Right.
glorious. Okay, don't be hating.
Okay.
Bajo Zutsu, aka me, aka glorious.
All right,
I
and
will give it.
thank you guys so much. Have a good night. Hope to catch you guys again soon.
Peace out. Meow. Oh my god, what? Oh my. Okay then.
That's it.